finding home, a freedom no man can own. I am a superhero.
One of the first superheroes that I met as a child, growing up in my household, my parent made sure that the heroes we knew and that we praised or aspired to be like were actual people in American history.
That's real.
And when I was a child, there were people, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, just people, African descendants who came to America, had done monumental things that should be discussed, that we should know of. And my mother used to tell us these stories and make us read these books so we could feel empowered, because at the time, growing up in the 70s, there weren't a lot of people who looked like us in prominent roles of authority. There was a lack of representation on TV, unless it was singing and dancing or playing sports. And so I always thought of Harriet Tubman as a hero. So when this movie came out, I couldn't wait to see it. And I had been traveling so much that I wasn't able to see it.
Right.
And then last night I got a chance to see it. But before I got a chance to see it, I started hearing all this backlash. I didn't understand, like if you told a story about George Washington, or you told a story about a Abraham Lincoln or a Robert Kennedy, or whoever else in American history helped change the narrative and help, pivot the progression of us as a community, as a national community. Their stories are celebrated. Harriet Tubman came out and got nothing but backlash from all Americans across the board, whatever your ethnicity is, and especially a lot of folks in the black community that I didn't understand. I couldn't understand why you don't want to hear this story told. I know a lot of folks don't want to hear slave movies about slaves.
Right.
Don't look at them as movies about slaves. Look at them as movies about survivors. Look at it as movies about American citizens who had to struggle and fight for equality and liberty and all these different things that we all expect from this country. So I went to go see the movie last night. By myself, man. I ain't went to a movie by myself. That was therapeutic. I sat in the Magic Johnson Theater at 10 at night and watching this movie.
You judge me for going all the time by myself, and you finally realize how great it is to go by yourself.
Oh, man, it was awesome.
Wow.
Normally I go with my daughter, and she talks my ear off the entire time.
Right.
And I saw my friend, who's been on this show playing the role of William Still, and such an amazing role he played, and an incredible job he did.
Yes.
And he has a new album that's dropping tomorrow, and he's here with us again, Citizen Extraordinaire, the one and only Leslie Odom Jr. is here.
A champ right here.
Did you tell him that you loved him so much you wanted him to be from Oakland?
I did say that. I was like, Leslie's from Oakland, right?
I'm like, Oakland can't have everybody. So. Goodness.
Hey, how you doing, bro?
I'm good, man.
Man.
I'm good. Blessed. Happy to be here again.
I people have the right to their opinions of how they feel. What was the, what did you expect the kind of reaction that this movie got?
Not really, but we live in a time where people have a lot to say, and they have a way to say it. They have a way to get that information to you. So you can hear from the streets, and you hear from the streets quickly these days when things are announced. And so it reached me for sure, and it continues to. And I have to say I understand it. You spoke about growing up in the 70s, the lack of representation, and so when these things are announced, we're coming from that place of this is the first major motion picture about Harriet Tubman. It's taken too long, right?
Yep.
So people feel very, we feel very sensitive to how that thing is being done. We have the streets have something to say about that, about our Harriet. So I understand it, where the only thing that I've added to the conversation, I've spent a lot of time listening to people. It ain't my movie, by the way, but I spent a lot of time listening, and I said, the thing that's different today though is that there is an Ava and an Oprah and a Issa Rae and a Donald Glover and a Lena Waithe. All these people are on the scene. People have deals. at major studios and stuff. This is the first Harriet movie. It don't have to be the last.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can make. How many movies have we seen about Lincoln? Have we seen about Washington? Have we seen? We can tell this story as many times as we'd like to, and so we can see Aisha's Harriet movie. I'd pitch in for Aisha Hines' Harriet movie. Like, this is Casey's version. This is starring Cynthia Erivo in a brilliant, beautiful performance and focus features. This is their version, but it don't stop nobody from doing the Harriet Tubman story that they want to do.
Yeah, man. And some of my friends, I don't always agree with my friends, but I think they come from powerful places, especially someone like Tyrese, who's like a little brother to me. And he made an interesting point when he said this.
So I got to ask y'all a question. How many more slave movies? How many more? When you support these movies that highlight us about things that happened in our history, yes, is that the sum of what you know of black people?
What do you think of that perspective?
Totally fair. I love that we're having this conversation, by the way. None of us speak for all of us.
Right.
I can only
give a round of applause
for
for that. Yeah.
Yes.
Damn it. Shit. Okay.
I can only speak for myself. I don't feel that way. I understand the feeling. I will watch. Can I curse on this show?
Go for it. See what happens.
Just because I can't say this part without.
Say it.
I will watch every World War II movie where they're showing us kicking Adolf Hitler's ass that they make. I will make. How many World War II movies have been made? There's a new one out. Jojo Rabbit. There's a new one out right now.
Yeah.
We look at this thing from all different perspectives, and we look at the worst of who we are and who we've been, the worst of humanity, and what humans did. To the Jews in the Holocaust. Slavery was a Holocaust.
That was a Holocaust.
Amen.
And so, I will never tire of slavery movies. I want to see, and there are. It's the first Harriet Tubman movie. How many more stories? Nate made the first Nat Turner movie. Y'all, we got a lot of these stories that we've yet to tell. And you look at the slave narratives that William Still, who I play in the movie, there needs to be a movie about this dude's life. The slave narratives that he compiled. I want to put a copy of this book in the hands of every young person that I can. This legacy of courage and ingenuity and brilliance. Do you know what it took to escape slavery?
Come on.
That belongs to us.
Yes.
Young kids need to know that, it's not a story about Harriet Tubman?
Yeah, come on.
One of the baddest motherfuckers to walk the planet. You don't want to see a movie about Harriet Tubman. It don't have to be this one. But you don't want to see a movie about Harriet Tubman?
It's not a slave. I don't think that's the narrative. Like a slave movie. We're not. She was enslaved and led people to freedom. She did not die a slave. No. The slave isn't her narrative. The whole journey. And then her connection with spirituality that played a major role in our. How do you think people survived all that? You have to believe there's a higher power. There's some strength in that challenges your will and make you put your life on the line for others like that. I see it different.
And see, you know what? And the thing where Tracy and I were talking about this week, and go watch y'all's performances. Leslie, you were brilliant. I had no idea who William Still even was, and I'm comfortable enough to be honest in that. I started to be curious about his story. I'm like, this man was writing everything down, and it was kind of funny. Like, yeah, she has a little mental problem, head trauma. She's crazy. But who was he? Janelle Monáe. I was wow.
Man.
Like, where did that
She's a
come
stunner.
from?
Oh my God.
And Cynthia. It was times I was looking at her like, wow, you've really been blessed to play this part. It was physical. I'm sure Cynthia had to tap into some other parts of her body spiritually and just say, let me go for it. It was. I went with 200 high school girls. Those girls, you cannot keep them off the phone when they first got in the film. By the end of the film, Leslie, Sway, they were clapping. They were standing up. And that will make them now go look further. And maybe one of those girls in that audience that we went with will go write the next Harriet movie. But at least it's starting to put some information in folks' head. Yeah. Y'all were brilliant.
Yeah.
Y'all were brilliant. Y'all were brilliant, man.
No, it's like we don't only want to see slave narratives. Like that's the thing. We don't only want to see, stories about slavery, but, it's a real trick of the enemy. It's a real trick of the enemy to commit an atrocity on a people and then somehow make them ashamed of it.
Whew.
Ain't that something?
You know, like
Like
Jewish people celebrate the Passover every year. They retell that story
my gosh.
every year. They recount their history every year. The atrocity that was done to them, their hardship, their pain, their victory. They find strength in that every single year. We can't run from this stuff.
Yes.
It's where going back to it, knowing what we came from. That's where we'll get our strength from that.
I don't want to forget what my great grandparents had to endure, had to survive in order for me to be here on Sirius XM, on MTV, coming back from Spain, owning property,
Talking to presidents.
I don't want to forget their story. I don't want to forget their legacy. And even if they were enslaved, not by choice. Nobody makes a choice to be enslaved. That's just
William Still, you talking about the slave. There was that the whole thing that it wasn't really a conversation, but the thing that broke out in the community about slavery was a choice. A year or so ago. William Still, he was raised by 2 escaped slaves. Never spent a day of chattel in chattel slavery in his life. He was born in New Jersey. William Still, my guy, but both his parents.
Come on, Sway, Jersey, stand up.
Come on,
Sway about
Come
Jersey.
on now.
Everybody ain't from Oakland, Sway.
Come on.
Shit, Oakland wasn't even around back then. Sorry, man. This is history.
But
talk to us, Leslie. So
his parents both escaped slavery. These are black people that were bucking the system. The first revolutionaries.
Yeah.
This is black revolution. This is black resistance. His mother has tried to escape slavery twice with her 4 children. Her 4 children, she made it. They brought her back twice. The third time that she escaped and she made it, she had to make the impossible choice to leave 2 of her children behind. She left 2 of her sons. She left her sons and took her girls.
Wow.
yeah, man. That's the story.
That's the story.
The story is about people who escaped slavery.
resilience,
And what it took to do that.
So did you, Leslie, going in? Now you, as an actor, did you audition? Were you offered the role, and then knowing you were going to work with Cynthia Broadway?
Yeah, Cynthia been running since Widows too. By the way, her run game is incredible, man. Was she a track athlete?
No.
Okay.
Did you know her personally and just wanted to work? Like, how did this come about for you?
Well, Cynthia's on the low. She's the godmother to my daughter. We're dear friends, and this was her. Kind of like the record is for me. Like, this was her passion project. Harriet was, and she wanted to invite me to the party. She was like, "I want you to be there."
Got it. Okay.
Like you would invite your friend. Like, this is gonna be some hard shit.
Yeah.
Be there to support me. So I wanted to just go and hold her down, just sort of like help her make this happen.
Okay.
Wow.
We got a few quick calls, and we're gonna get into the music real quick. Okay. What do you think, Karen? Karen's in Georgia. Go ahead. Say hello to Leslie Odom Jr.
Hey, Karen.
Hey, good morning.
Yes.
Good morning.
I just wanted to readdress one of the points that Leslie made about the point. Our job as adults is to pass on history. That's what we're supposed to do, to make them remember and understand struggle. Right now, the kids don't have anybody really to look up to as to recognizing struggle. They don't have any push. And like I said, that's our job as adults, to pass on history so they remember, so they retain the same kind of strength to understand how strong they are.
Yeah.
And every time we negate something, we make the impact even less.
Good point, Karen. I appreciate you. We got Barry from Dallas. What are your
Hi,
thoughts?
Barry.
Hey, what's going on, morning team? Mr. Odom, hey, how y'all doing?
Great.
Oh, well, man.
Real quick, go ahead, Barry.
Right. Well, I enjoyed the movie, and I was in the barbershop actually yesterday. My barber said, "Look, I don't want to go see no movie about slaves. I don't want my kids seeing that because this is a new age." And I said, "Look, you gotta open your mind up to
New slaves.
Hey.
a new place. There's so many aspects to the movie. If you pay attention, the spirituality in it being led, and that it really, it's about Harriet, but her belief and faith carried her places that she couldn't imagine. She did things she couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
The aspect of courage, integrity. I mean, the father and how he chose not to look at her. That was integrity, so that he was questioned, he could answer sincerely. So he tried his best. And then the underdog aspect. Like, I'm around a lot of accomplished people, but I don't have a degree. But through my hustle and the few things that I did know, I pushed it and I believed it. I felt her when she was in that group basically saying, you all are comfortable. You know what I mean? She is out there gritty, grimy, getting it.
Yeah.
And I felt the same way. Like, 3 properties later, my own business.
Okay.
Well,
I see you.
You know what I mean?
Okay, Barry, I see you a citizen, baby.
Sway in the morning.
I just wanted to encourage people to see it for yourself before you judge it. And, man, I don't want none of it to be ignored and forgotten because you think it's different. You think it's changed. Really? What are we fighting for today that's any different other than the fact that we were in chains? What are we fighting for today that's any different than what they were fighting for then? We still fighting for the same shit. Is it different? Are we? I mean, we got we on Broadway and doing better and greater things, but nah, man, don't think it's changed as much as Tyree's got a movie called Black and Blue.
Right.
What's that about? You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
So we're still fighting. That movie is so important.
Yeah.
We're still fighting for the same thing.
There's this little kid asked me, she kind of asked me, like, she stumped me with this question about Hamilton. She was like, me and my friends, we actually think, we talk about Hamilton. We actually don't think it was that revolutionary. It's like a bunch of people of color telling white people stories. Like, so what do you think about that? And I loved her question, and I said, well, what I think is Lin ran his leg of the race. That's the story Lin wanted to tell. I don't necessarily agree with you, but that's fair. Now it's your turn to write the show.
Exactly.
That's what I say all
what
the
show
time,
are you gonna write?
Pick up the baton.
I want to see your show that you write. So I look forward to the next Harriet Tubman movies.
But the underlying point though is that she had to go see it to now spark this thing. Go see Sway said go see it and then come back and start going back and forth and coming with these ideas. But go see.
Easier to critique than to create.
Leslie Odom Jr. That's where you follow him. So he got a new album out called Mister.
Tomorrow.
That drops tomorrow.
All original.
All of it. First original material.
Yes,
for all of it. You wrote and produced?
Yes, sir.
You wrote all the songs?
Yes, sir. I executive produced, but my real producers were, the guys that were in there with the nitty gritty was Theron Feemster, he goes by Nephew, and Joseph Abate.
Man, it seemed like it could be kind of difficult for a Broadway actor. A few have obviously made that transition to just how you say, the music world, or
to make the transition,
without just being seen as a Broadway vocalist singing songs, right? Do you concern yourself is that a part of your thought process when you write and make music?
Well, for me, thank goodness I got known for this Broadway thing, but like that wasn't what I grew up listening to. I wasn't like a Broadway guy, like, you know what I mean? Like, I was listening to
Walking through the hood.
Like in my house it was soul music, it was gospel music, it was hip hop, R&B. Like, that's what we were listening to, right? So the thing that drew me to Hamilton and stuff, was the fact that it sounded like the music that I grew up listening to. I haven't done a ton of Broadway shows. You know what I mean? The shows that I've done sound like R&B, soul music. You know, so
you got a track. Now I listen to you, man. You Are My Everything's is the one I really
man.
You go. That's just such a beautiful.
Thank you, man.
Beautiful
song.
Dope, man. Dope.
There's another song, Standard. Where you say you treat me like a loaded gun. You say you're always trying to dim my light. Are you speaking to someone?
Bitch. I'm talking to some people. That lyric. That's the closest I come to being an MC on this record.
Let's go.
That's the closest I come to a diss track
Shots
on this
fired.
album. I said the words are, when it was crumbs, scraps, pennies, pats, everything was fine. You treat me like a loaded gun when I ask for what is mine. because people get real. When money's not involved, before things become successful, it's like, oh, we family. It's all whoop whoop. It's all good. As soon as there's money on the table, as soon as we're talking about, okay, well, what's my cut in it? It gets, people can get real funny around that. So, the thing that's gotten me in trouble the most in my life are my standards. My self-respect. I've had to mature around that. You know what I mean? Because you have to ask for things the first time anyway. You got to ask for things in a respectful way. Eventually, you sometimes got to get disrespectful too. But yeah, you got to respect yourself out here. And when you respect yourself in black, it just looks totally different to some people, than when the same, when a white dude respects himself and asks for some dough and this kind of billing and stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's not looked at the same way as when we do it.
Okay, I'm gonna play that song, but I just got this caller named Dondi from the Bronx, who's in Iowa, that said her great grandmother was a slave. Dondi, is this true?
Yeah, it's true, man. It's written down. She was emancipated by the governor for South Carolina and Jimmy Carter. This is Donnie was speaking to Grandmaster Cass. Yeah, she's 121. My cousin did some research. That was South Carolina and between Scotia and Estelle up to 321.
Now, you know why he called in? Because he wanted her to be recognized and he wanted to tell her story. Do you have a problem with movies about people who were in slavery?
No. One time I did. I was a little ignorant because I was in the Bronx. So I got a little.
I was in the Bronx.
That's good enough. There you go, brother. All right, thank you, man. All right,
I was in the Bronx. I was ignorant.
So I'm gonna play this. So I just had to do that.
Where hip hop lives.
Here it is. Standard by Leslie Odom Jr.
They call me Mr. Tibbs. Mr. Tibbs.
Never.
Wow.
Oh, our law project is Mr. Drops
gosh.
tomorrow. How are you releasing this? Is it who you signed to? What's the deal?
I'm on S Curve Records. They're a subsidiary of BMG.
Okay, cool. All right, you got a nice deal.
Yeah, I'm happy over there. It's I'm very, very happy. I've heard horror stories about labels, but Steve Greenberg, my label president, actually lets me be an artist, and he's not, in my stuff too much. Like he lets me do what I want to do. I'm very grateful.
You got to come back and talk about the Many Saints of Newark.
Yeah.
Bet.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Sopranos movie. Yeah, bet.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
James Gandolfini's son playing him.
Yeah.
I heard that was really tough.
Wow.
It's super special for them guys, man, because like that show changed their lives. It's not just a TV show for them. You know what I mean? Like it changed television. The Sopranos changed television, but that was their Hamilton. You know what I mean? Like and Michael, his dad is not with him anymore. You know what I mean? So like it was really a spiritual, special thing.
Because he didn't watch the show, and he had to actually go back and watch episodes to kind of get a feel of his dad's portrayal of Tony Soprano. And that
good kid too. His dad taught him. You could tell his dad taught him about leadership too. Like he on some real shit. Like he was just like checking on the whole cast. He's a young kid too,
right?
But sending text messages like how you doing, how you holding up. He's a special kid.
Okay, man. Leslie Odom Jr. Thank you for sitting with us this morning, man. And every time, anytime. Okay, this is your platform.
Boy.